Here we have a plant with a purple flower. It has a purple flower because it has a gene for the purple color. And that gene is a sequence of nucleic acids which gives rise to an RNA, which gives rise to a protein. This protein is what actually makes the purple pigment in the flowers. But what if there was a mutation to this gene? What would happen then is there would be a different sequence of nucleic acids. In this case, we're dealing with a sequence of nucleic acids that gives rise to a protein that is not capable of making that purple pigment. And this different variant of the gene is what we know as an allele. This allele gives rise to white-flowered plants because this protein produced by this allele is non-functional in making purple pigment. Thankfully, each pea plant can have 2 copies of each gene, and this is because it is diploid. A diploid organism is capable of having 2 copies of the genome and thus 2 copies of each gene. So it can have 1 copy of each of the alleles, 1 copy that makes purple pigment and 1 copy that does not. If it has both different copies, one that makes a purple pigment here given by a big P and one that is not capable of making purple pigment given by a lowercase p, it is called heterozygous. If it has both copies, either both copies of the big P dominant allele or both copies of the lowercase p recessive allele, then that is what we call homozygous. Now we call them dominant or recessive because in the case that a plant is heterozygous and has 1 copy of each, what you see on the outside is reflective of the protein that works, thus the allele that produces a protein that works. So we would call that allele dominant. And what the recessive allele is when both copies are present, that allele and that allele's phenotype, outward expression, are not going to be shown and they're not going to be seen. So the phenotype is what we're getting on the outside, either purple flowers or white flowers, and the genotype is what we have on the inside, either homozygous dominant, heterozygous, or homozygous recessive. Now let's say we took 2 heterozygous individuals and we were to mate them. We're going to here have one that is going to produce sperm. Sperm is haploid, so it only has 1 copy of each genome, and it will thus have only 1 copy of the gene. So this one has the uppercase P allele, and this one has the lowercase p allele. We also have eggs, which are haploid, and thus have only 1 copy of each gene. This one has the uppercase P allele. These eggs have the lowercase p allele. If we were to combine them, what we can get is 4 different combinations. We can get 2 uppercase P alleles, which will produce a homozygous dominant individual with purple flowers. We can get 2 lowercase p alleles, which would produce a homozygous recessive individual with white flowers, or we can get 2 different ways of heterozygotes, which would produce an individual that has both alleles, but would produce purple flowers because the functional protein would be seen for the dominant allele. Thank you.